Okay, we are now recording the July 26, 2019 Small Business Accounting Advisors. Hello, everyone.
Happy Friday.
Hello.
Happy Friday. We've lost Matthew again. He's kind of disappearing into the background. He's playing Hogwarts on us, invisibility cloak.
Exactly.
So our first topic, Shannon, I'm going to let you introduce what happened this week and what should we be thinking about.
Well, and I only know what happened because Sarah brought it up last week, was the in-sync hack, and nobody had access to any of their data for a minimum of 6 days. So I was wondering how this may have affected Chronobook sales. Because as we know, Chronobooks is the backup for QBO.
Yeah, but InSync is a hosting for desktop.
Yes, it is.
So I don't know how those would be direct relational.
Well, and the other thing is, if you have Chronobooks and QBO is down, so where do you get to restore your backup to?
Well,
yeah, but it's more like
it's
the idea of ransomware, right? Like if somebody was to take it and you lose it, at least you'd have the backup once you got a place to put it into.
Yes, yeah.
Or online.
You have to be able to restore it somewhere.
Oh, you're using Chronobooks for QBO and you were storing it in InSync?
No, they're just two different topics that made me think of a subject.
Okay, we're thinking of backup, and how do you back up?
Oh, yeah, they're not connected.
We're overthinking it.
Right.
I'll be happy to put my affiliate link in the chat.
Thank you, Matthew.
Chronobooks?
I have a question. Isn't Chronobooks strictly web-based?
That's correct.
It is.
So what other option is there for QBO? I thought there were two options.
Rewind.
There is one more.
Rewind, it's Canadian.
Rewind or Chronobooks.
That means it's even better. You should go with that one.
I did the safety net for a while.
Oh, then they went out. They sold.
Right.
Who bought them? Do you know who bought them?
Who bought them?
I can't remember, but they're not doing anything with them anymore. Like it's like.
I think companies buy competitors just to kill them.
They do.
Well,
A
and
lot of times
that's different because it was owned by Jobber, which is a completely different app. Yeah. So it was Safety Net by Jobber, and then they sold it to somebody.
So there's a whole lot of moving parts. You know, we now have all these apps that are SaaS-based, web-based, and how do you back them up? Not only do we have to worry about hardware, like Mr. Ernest this week. What happened, Ernest?
Today.
Hey, you know, I was working so hard today, so hard I was working, I just burned up that computer. It got so hot that it just shut down once, twice, 3 times. And I had to let the bad boy, cool off. But, fortunately for me, it actually restarted, but that's not always the case.
So, Ernest, it wasn't the hot air around you that was causing it to heat up?
No, you were off the phone at that point.
It was Sarah that he was talking to.
That explains it. I'm like, Ernest, fix this problem, Ernest. Okay. It wasn't like, 2 minutes after you, voila, figured out the problem, and we both went, we figured it out, and then where'd Ernest go? It's like blurp.
It was crazy. Yeah. I mean, the point I think Gina's making though is you really never know when it's going to happen, right?
Absolutely.
And
that's my point.
And having the processes and software in place, right? So in my case, almost all dev work that I do, I check in on a very routine basis to Azure DevOps, right, in the cloud. So all the source code I have for every client is sitting in the cloud, right? So I'm never worried about that. certainly any of like the Power BI models that I'm working on, I save into a Dropbox folder, which is synchronized as soon as I hit the save button. So to a very large extent, most of the stuff that I'm ever out is the incremental work product between my last save. But I think it is really, really important to have those processes in place.
Redundancy.
Absolutely. And when a situation happens, like what happened to you today and me like 2 weeks ago, it's a good test of what systems you have in place. So,
It is.
Yeah,
There was,
it really is. I'm actually thinking about adding a, I've actually moved a lot of my development configuration into a virtual computer, and I'm actually looking at moving it to the Azure cloud, just because even if I had my program files and all of that stuff, rebuilding a brand new computer for me takes like days.
I bet.
So just the configuration part is a critical component. So it's just whether or not I'm willing to pay that bill.
You can actually back up that VM. And
well, there's that thing too. Like, how much do you want to pay? I mean,
my carbon is about to renew, and it's.
So I guess you just have to determine what the value is of the data that could be lost.
yeah.
absolutely.
An insurance policy, right?
I now have not only hardware. See, on my computer, my hardware, I'm considering all of the documents, music, pictures, videos that I have on my hard drive. So I went out and got one of those WD backups. Well, it also tells me, it allows me to back up my cloud programs. I have not tried that, and I don't know what that means. Like, I really want to try the
Syncs the cloud to your device.
What product is
What
this?
which device did you get?
The WD backup.
Western Digital.
Drive. NAS drive. Now, when you go on vacation, or I mean, do you separate your computer from your backup? What if your house burns down?
Yes,
That's
yes,
what I worry about.
yes, yes.
Not only if you just go on vacation.
Well, yeah, you could just.
Has anybody had a fire alarm in the middle of the night?
Yeah. Huh?
Has anybody had a fire alarm in the middle of the night?
I had a fire evacuation.
We did, and I actually ran down because I could. The alarms all went off. I didn't even put a bra on. I was in my pajamas, running down here, ready to pull the wires out of my computer and run out with my computer.
Save the computer.
Oh, and by the way, get out of the bedroom. Get out of the bedroom.
Where's my husband? Oh,
Yeah,
computer.
he was behind me.
So my Western Digital backup actually takes what they call the photo restore. Takes a picture of my whole
hard drive, including programs.
Hard drive, including all the files. I have the files backed up, and I can also do this cloud backup, which I haven't looked up. I really want to see what happens with Dropbox. Do I need Dropbox to put that backup into? Or is this a file that I can print out my documents? You know what I mean?
You might want to consider getting a larger WD drive than your hard drive on your computer.
Oh, yes, it is. It is. It's a 2 terabyte.
I got 3 terabytes on the computer and 3 on WD drive, and I ran out of space a month ago.
Wow, what do you do?
Yeah, really.
Well,
Photograph. Wow, that's a lot of data today.
yeah. And
Yeah, well, this thing is
based in an incremental.
in there backing up stuff that I don't really care about too.
Your backup may take up more space than you actually have on your computer, because if you have, depending on how long you keep your backups and how the backup software is doing that,
Right.
chew up a lot of space.
Yeah.
That's true, but it takes hours and hours to go through all that stuff and just,
I'd rather just back it
So,
up.
so it looks like the Western Digital backup is using a Cronus to do an image. It will do both a file system backup and a system level backup. So it's doing it'll do the files, and you can restore from the files, or you can do a system level backup where it's creating an image of your entire computer, so you could restore the entire computer.
We should do that.
I like redundancies as far as backup is concerned.
Well, I really like QBox for all my clients on desktop, because I can go back to the last 20 versions, and I've used it for myself and I've used it for my clients. And I like that you can put Word documents or Excel files in there too. That's kind of nice. So if I have ones that are kind of important, I stick those in the QBox folder as well. What about photos though? Like, it seems to me the best thing to do is put photos like on Google Photos or something.
Yeah, I've got them on Google, Amazon, and something. They're everywhere.
And then the other thing is either using iDrive, which I use for my computers, or there's another one that's a real more popular one, Carbonite.
Yeah, well, I use Carbonite, but Carbonite doesn't back up the image of the computer. It's just data.
Right,
I'm
right.
using my Western Digital, but my question is, what happens with the cloud apps, and how do they handle the cloud apps?
So things like 365, you can actually there are
Beam.
Beam does Office 365.
Wait a minute, who's beeping?
It was Matthew.
Okay, Mark, go ahead again.
Yeah, well, Matthew had said that so Veeam, B-E-A, 2 E's, an A and M. Yeah, so
V-E-A-M?
Veeam, yeah.
Yeah.
They will do 365 backups. There's another vendor I'm going to look up here that does them.
So they will back up your cloud documents then for Microsoft is what you're talking about.
Okay, so
What about OneDrive? Doesn't OneDrive put a lot of stuff there automatically?
those are all cloud storage
Well,
locations.
Yeah, so OneDrive is is more like your user directory, and it would sync, and it should be syncing to probably syncing to your computer. So you would have a copy on your local computer,
Like
a
Dropbox,
copy
yeah.
in OneDrive. Now, the thing to watch out with some of the syncing things is if I get there's a ransomware attack and it's constantly syncing, and my files get encrypted, and guess what?
The backups they're trashed, yeah.
Backups are
Sync
trashed.
files are encrypted as well. So
How do you ever
watch
know
for
if a backup's gonna take
Well,
a virus?
When you have a problem like Ernest and I did, that's when you discover, does it work?
Yeah, I'm talking about malware and stuff like that.
But what I'm talking about is Dropbox. Okay, so I have that backed up. What if I have a paying Dropbox and all of a sudden my credit card gets messed up and I don't have access to Dropbox anymore? Can I use that Dropbox to print those documents that I've stored?
from your local computer,
Right.
it shouldn't be erasing the documents from your local computer.
Yeah.
Well, because cloud apps are, bye Tiffany. Cloud apps are only good as long as you pay them. Like your health insurance, you only have a month's worth of health insurance until you pay that next bill.
That's right.
Same with cloud apps. You only have access to those cloud apps as long as you're paying the bill. Something happens to your credit and you no longer have a credit card to pay that bill. Have you lost everything, or can you back up?
AvePoint was the other vendor I was trying to remember for. I mean, there's more than that, but for the 365,
So even though there are cloud apps and you can have access to them anywhere and you really don't think about backup for them, you should.
Yeah, once you pass their free level and you're paying for the extra storage, and then you quit
Absolutely.
paying, and
Well,
yeah.
and so something I was touching on with the backups is when you do a backup. So if you back up, if you have your backup drive always connected to your computer, and then you get a ransomware attack, and it encrypts your computer. A lot of those are actually now encrypting backups, and they're getting smarter about all that.
So jump over to your backup.
So you want to make sure that you have some, basically, whether it's offsite or disconnected, backup.
So here we are back to the offsite and disconnected. So in theory, after my backup is done, because I have it being done at nighttime to not interfere, I should unplug that Western Digital should anything happen. Nightly.
During the day and just plug it in at night, when you leave.
There you go.
A little fireproof safe might be, at least better than. Mark tends to take stuff to his office. I don't go anywhere.
I seem to remember, and I don't know if it's true anymore. I seem to remember way back when on Linux, they used to have some commands where you could lock down your system where only the person running the console, the admin running the console, had control of, allowing file transfers and stuff like that. And I don't know if that's still true, but I wonder, couldn't they make something like that today where, you could lock down your system and just only you?
Then you're at the mercy of that password.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
but people are typically, small business of their admins on their computer, and so that's what it is. It's clicking on a link, and you're running the program as you. So
right.
Yeah.
A lot of moving pieces, a lot of things to think about. So how did you do, Ernest? Did you pass yours?
Oh, well, I mean, let's just be clear. My machine came back on after it cooled down, so.
I told him to go to lunch, drink a beer, give it a rest.
Yeah, I failed to drink the beer, but I should have.
The look on your face.
I kind of decided I'm not going to take either of the tests. I'll do the desktop one, and that's
Oh,
probably.
you're about talking about the QuickBooks test that runs out next Wednesday? Yeah, a lot of people are doing it last.
I don't really get any clients off of there.
Yeah.
Because
So do I have to do a desktop test?
Okay, so Linda is talking about the deadline for the QBO Core and Advanced Recertification, 12/31. I mean 7/31, 12/31, 7/31. So if you want to do the recertification, you have until the 31st to get it done.
Right.
Otherwise, you go back to the beginning and do it all over again.
Well, I don't know, I kind of got discouraged last fall because I'd taken 2 parts and passed them, and the third part I'd failed twice. And so I had one more chance, and I thought, oh, well, I guess I better get more prepared.
I just found out I have to do the desktop pre-cert.
No, not the desktop. The desktop.
No, I do. No, that's what it's telling me. I gotta go do that.
You've already done that.
Are you saying the deadline for that is 7/31? I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It usually is, but the deadline, remember we all took them like a couple months ago. It was like during busy season. I'm like, what the heck? Why was this during busy season?
That ends when the desktop is sunsetted, I believe.
And the thing is, I just don't get business from there. I get business from the internet, from.
Yeah, if you want it in part of your, on your website or on your business card or something, but You can still be a pro advisor, I guess, but.
Well, yeah, I still pay because getting the software and the training and all that is well worth it.
Yeah,
So-
well, as long as we can
And
do.
the access to the access to technical support.
Mm-hmm.
And so do the people that we're dealing with know the difference between a certified pro advisor and a plain old pro advisor? Do they care?
Nah, it's our reputation. Once you-
Most of them don't know it unless you tell them.
Mhm.
So, most of my work is referral work because I've been in business 22 years. So people know somebody else that I helped, or people that I helped 20 years ago come back and they go, "Oh my God, you didn't die. Isn't that nice? Can you help me?" Oh,
Well,
happy.
I had one guy call my home line, and I'm like, I hadn't talked to him in years, and he said, I couldn't remember your business name. And he said, haven't you gotten married? And I'm like, I'm so glad I kept my other name because, and I said, that's one of the reasons I didn't take Mark's name legally because,
Yeah.
I mean, I claim my other one, is because sure enough, 15 years later, all that guy could remember was Sarah Laidlaw.
Yeah.
So nobody would know who I was.
Yeah.
And do y'all want to see what new thing I learned in the desktop today?
Sure.
We learned 2 new things this week. 2.
Okay. Tell us.
Okay. I want to know. I'm going to show you a screenshot. Hold on here. Let's see here. All right. Share screen. Share. Screen. Can you see it?
Yeah,
VW.
VW. Ooh, beautiful.
You like my VW? Isn't it pretty? Okay.
It is. Love the color.
Yeah, that's why I just fell over there. Okay, so in accounting, not under reports, in accounting, company preferences, show lowest sub-account only. Apparently it's been there a long time.
Oh,
Yes, it has been. I've used it.
Okay, I don't know why you would use it, but we think what's happened is this was by default, this is not checked until 2019, and now the default is it's checked. That's my theory.
Oh, that's quite possible.
Yeah. Well, you know why? Because that's for people like pro advisors. We know what we're doing, but regular users do not. They don't know the difference between the main account and the sub account. So if you
That's
want
true.
transactions out of that main account and have it listed as other, then you check that, and the only thing that comes up on the pick list are the sub accounts.
Is that what that's for?
Yep.
Oh.
That's it.
Keep people from posting to the.
Hold on, I'm gonna go check it out. So,
Wow.
So
Well-
it depends on who's using the QuickBooks.
Well, do you have any, but I've got all kinds of clients in 19. Was it created in 19?
No.
So what the sample company that came with 19 has it checked.
aha,
I have a
that's what I'm
customer-
looking at right now.
And I have a customer who said, my new file is acting funny, but I open up my old file and it's fine. I'm both in 19.
Oh, because it was what was checked.
So TBX will export the full name, and hers was coming out at the lowest.
Ah.
I had this program since 2004. I'm like, Ernest! This lady's like, she'd worked for another nonprofit and used it for years, and she just got a new job, and she's like, I have to have my old program. So they let her buy my program and everything, and then I get this email like, I don't understand. And I'm like,
What is happening here?
Ernest found it. I had never seen, well, I guess that question's been there forever, and I never paid any attention to it.
Yeah, some of my clients use it.
So when we looked at the chart of accounts, it's showing parent sub.
Absolutely. And when you run the reports, it
In
does.
the reports, apparently normal reports, I guess what we're doing in the background. And then, but when you're coding, when you're actually posting a transaction, it doesn't show the parent. That would mess me up though, as an accountant. I mean, I have to know where I am.
Right.
I can see the value in that.
As a user, that all they're doing is invoicing or writing checks or whatever, you don't want them to use that parent account. You want them to pick one of the sub accounts.
Oh, I gotta find the other screenshot for the other thing we figured
Well,
out.
you know what I do then, though? What I do is on the parent account, on the description, well, I usually do this on items, though.
Yeah.
On items, I say, do not use all capitals. Use
Header. Sometimes
account
I'll say
below.
header.
Yeah, and so that when they enter the wrong thing, if they read, it says, don't use this. Use the sub account below.
Right.
And it makes it easy for me to go then pick and fix it if they did it wrong.
Right.
Because it comes up right away. But yeah, it's interesting. All right. That's funny though, that they would change the default.
Yes.
That's very odd.
The only thing I can think of.
Wow. They should let you know before they do that. That could mess people up. Hello.
Oh yeah, it could.
I have to like pay somebody to figure that out. And the thing is, he said, do you want me to look for this? And I'm like, yes, I want you to look for it. I said, try to keep it under 6 hours. So like 30 seconds later, he goes, right. And I'm like, he goes, and just like, you just commit. I said, what, are you going to bill me time or value?
What do you think? What do you think? What should I charge
The
her?
value to me was 6 hours. I'm like,
Obviously. Well, you can always compromise on 3 hours.
no, just shut up, Linda. So then Angela said that I should keep Ernest on the phone for 6 hours. The next day he fried his computer.
That'll melt his computer.
Exactly.
That's what it was. That's what fried my computer.
That's it. You got it.
That's
I have got to find, where did I? Oh, I was probably on that. No, I wasn't on that. Somebody on Facebook said that, okay, do any of y'all handle agricultural clients?
Linda does.
Like, and they have a 943, not a 941?
Mm-mm.
So a 943 is why they have their own special form. I don't know. But anyway, agricultural has their own form. So if you make a tax deposit, you can't put it in as a 941. It gets lost, you know, and then there's a lot of rigmarole. So QuickBooks has the desktop payroll and they do ePay, right? They'll pay and do the 941. So all I could remember was years ago, I had a nursery, and I remember I had to go to the EFTPS site and manually pay the 943 because QuickBooks didn't do it. So we got this whole conversation going back. No, QuickBooks won't do it. And they're like, well, how come it says over here it does, but then it doesn't, you know, so we went back and forth. I'm trying to find that picture.
But you figured out it does or it does not.
It does.
Well, you have to choose it.
Ah.
It does. But the choice, I had never seen that question before.
Yeah.
So that's another one of those little hidden things that nowhere in the help does it tell you. Okay, when you go through the setup, the payroll setup, which a lot of people don't go through all that. You just set up payroll.
No, I know. They'll pick
I
and choose and skip around.
Anyway, if you go through the wizard, you can set up, you know, tax deposit and then e-pay and blah, blah, blah. And so it says 941, 940, 944, yeah, 944, and then other.
And then what? Other?
Other. And apparently if you check other in this backdoor setup place, when you go to do your 941 check, and you have it set up for e-pay, next to the withholding date is another field that defaults to 941, but it's a drop-down button.
Wow.
There it is, 943. Now, either And I haven't looked, but either it's always been there for 100 years and it just defaults to 941, so I've never really.
Change
Hey,
that after the fact? or
Can you
no?
change it after the fact, not after it goes?
No, I meant after you've done the initial payroll.
After you've already been through the wizard setup, where do you
Yeah,
change
I'm
it?
sure you could, or even after you do the payroll, sure. But the fact is that it may be on the screen, and I haven't done a payroll since to look. But if the withdrawal date, and then right next to it, it says what kind of tax deposit. If that's been there all these years I've been doing payroll, I've never paid attention to it. My thought is, if you don't check other, that doesn't even present.
You're probably right.
And that, or it's sitting there defaulting to 941 and I've never cared. But the fact is, that's where you, and then I'm curious that if you change it to 943, does it default to 943 from now on? Or is that why so many customers are having IRS problems where their deposits are going into the wrong account? Anyway, but that was sort of I was doing something that I was supposed to be doing and didn't want to do, and then I got squirreled doing this.
Speaking of squirreling, so one of the things that I've done since I came back from Scaling New Heights is I'm actually a cloud service provider now. I was talking to the company that I kind of worked through today, and I don't know, Mark, if you knew this, but so Yammer, of course, has, I have my own Yammer because I have an Office 365. Woodard has a lot of communications on Yammer.
Mm-hmm.
I found today the Microsoft Yammer group, which has separate channels specifically for data, another channel for Dynamics partners, another one for infrastructure. I guess this was a resource Mark knew about, was just, keep it under the covers from me, huh?
Yeah, we
No,
didn't
I
want
just
you to
don't.
know.
I don't.
He's saving it for that time that he needs to trade you for a 6-hour job.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, we owe Ernest, honey.
What?
What? What do you mean?
Sorry.
This is
He was
weird.
out of the room during that.
It's too bad we don't have any fun on Friday.
Yeah. Hey, is Yammer invite only?
Yeah, but it's pretty easy to do. I hit the invite button, and about an hour later, I got an invite.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, so they let anybody in.
they'll let anybody in.
Yeah, I got to figure that out better because it's too late now to call Woodard about getting into the Yammer group because I have trouble accessing because I have Yammer through my Office 365 and then I've been invited to the Woodard group with Yammer and I don't
Really
know, sometimes I get confused.
Have you gotten into that Yammer with Woodard?
Yeah, I've been into it a few times.
I get an
Did you
email.
find all my posts?
I don't know offhand. I seem to be able to access it from one computer, but not from the other one. And sometimes I can access it from my phone, and then sometimes it wants my password, and I have no idea what my
It's your
password.
Microsoft password.
Which
Well,
one?
no, not on
I
Woodard.
know,
It's not.
I know.
On Woodard, it's not. It's
Speaking of
something else.
Microsoft, okay, so I have a good friend at church who's a social worker, and we've been trying to collaborate, and she doesn't have Word, she doesn't have this, she doesn't have that. So she just started in a new department, and I'm like, ooh. So I thought, oh, it got a new machine? And I'm like, find out if you're on 365, because then you'd be able to have multiple, you could have it on your device, you can have all this. So I said, I think he said your work machines were pretty old, but anyway, so I was telling her about 365. I said, ask your IT person. So she goes, okay, my new position got me even further into the dark ages. Office 2003. My machine has WinWord on it.
Well, WinWord is the executable.
Oh, is that the executable?
Yeah, so I don't know why they call it WinWord. but
That must
you-
be what
you
her
can go-
icon
you can-
I say.
That's probably what her icon says. Yep.
And it's not the default icon created by.
Who knows?
by
So then she said, I
Microsoft.
just got permission to get a license for 2010. But I'll ask them about 365. But and I said, wow. I said, you might want to, oops, drop your machine. And then she said, apparently, oh, now I'm getting Office 2016. And I have to take a course in Excel. I'm like, go girl. And then now she just said, my old machine wouldn't cope with 2016. And I tried to drop
That's right. Yeah.
So I have to settle for 2010.
Well,
Anyway, that's what typical nonprofits with
support for 2010. Well, 2003 is long gone.
this. Yeah, 2010 is
And
gone.
2010,
That sounds like Windows XP, doesn't it? 2003?
I think it's still under support. But
She's all excited. She's never played with Excel before. She has formulas.
All right.
Oh, it's great. So anyway, I said, well, I'll help you find some YouTube.
Awesome.
Trained up on
Awesome.
that. But yeah, that's I'm so spoiled. Oh, I try to keep on the newest and the greatest, but but look how unproductive they can be being on old stuff, you know.
Office 2010 Service Pack 2, October 13, 2020.
Yeah, they'll nurse that to the last chance. Yeah.
Alrighty, guys.
Calculator one time. I hated my calculator. It was at Price Waterhouse, and this thing stuck, and I dropped it.
Doesn't that feel good?
I'm like, oh my god, it flew off my desk.
Right into the trash can.
And that's
So
what
are we
were like.
saying goodbye now, or?
I think so. We are at 6:06. We're over time.
Got it.
Unless there's something anyone else wants to talk about. We did start to talk about the Society.
We'll get that next week.
We'll catch that next week.
Next week.
Next week.
I think Ernest went to that.
All
And I
right.
know Linda and Matthew went to it also.
Okay. So we'll put that on the list, and if anyone has anything that
Put
they
it on the new poll.
put it in the group. We're doing polls now, so
That's right.
happy to talk about whatever anyone wants us to talk about in the group.
Yes.
So,
Had a demo of Neon yesterday.
what is Neon?
I'm more of the nonprofit one in the crowd, but it is a CRM that's really getting popular with nonprofits. So
Ooh, okay.
Oh,
to play
okay.
with that or even get a demo on it because
Got it.
I use for it. But it's nice is I'm starting to see fresh, looks pleasant to work with. It was intuitive. I knew what I was doing. That is so important. And so many of these programs out there, you're bumbling along. You don't know what you're doing. They're ugly to look at and they're not intuitive. So I really enjoyed it.
Well, you'll have to keep us informed.
I will. All right. Y'all have a nice weekend.
Have a great weekend, everyone. See y'all same time.
Yeah. All right.
Bye.
All right. Glad you